Formula One fans, the bombshell news just arrived that's shaking Maranello to its core. Ferrari's rear suspension cost €2.5 million, and they knew it wouldn't work. For 4 months, they worked on this fateful update that finally arrived in July. First, it was tested at Mugello, then it debuted at Spa-Francorchamps, and now the devastating backstory finally emerges. At Maranello, they already knew in advance that update on the rear suspension wouldn't solve the car's problems, and despite this, they decided to produce it anyway. What a scandal. Spending over €2.5 million taken from the budget cap. Money that could have been invested in other potentially more useful developments. But how is something like this possible? How can a team like Ferrari waste so much money knowing it wouldn't work? The SF25's problem originates from far back, already on dynamic benches when the car hadn't yet touched the track. The group led by Luca Serra understood something wasn't right. The rear end didn't function, it was unstable, difficult to control and incapable of working close to the asphalt without consuming too much plank. In Bahrain tests came devastating confirmation. Ferrari couldn't exploit the ideal ride height. This meant something very simple: less aerodynamic load in all conditions. Other teams, McLaren and Red Bull above all, figured out how to shift the floor wear point toward the front, protecting critical zones. Ferrari didn't. The result is every time they tried lowering the car, the SF25 went outside the operating window. Ferrari's idea was changing the rear kinematics, stopping other updates, and concentrating almost solely on the rear suspension. The objective was stabilizing the aerodynamic platform in the most delicate phases, especially under braking. They modified the first arm of the upper triangle, shifting the attachment point vertically and longitudinally, lengthening the link and increasing anti-lift function. In simple words, they wanted a rear end that dived less under braking. Too bad that increasing anti-lift risks worsening squat during acceleration. The car's global behavior remained practically the same. The truth is, the update solved nothing. The on-track update at the Belgian GP only slightly widened the setup window. Useful, yes. Decisive, no. But the heaviest backstory is that Ferrari already knew everything. Here comes the sensational part before going into production. The new suspension was tested for days in the simulator. One of Ferrari's drivers involved in test was crystal clear in the final briefing. Don't invest in this update, the problem doesn't get solved. The feedback was sharp. After 2 days of intense sessions, the driver had concluded the update wouldn't bring real advantages. Ferrari, however, couldn't find confirmation in the data, and after weeks spent on the project, made a decision that today weighs heavily. They built the suspension anyway. Then followed tests on the 7-post rig that didn't convince. The cost? Over €2.5 million taken from the budget cap, and therefore from other potentially more useful developments. The suspension gave Ferrari a bit more margin in setups, but never solved the SF25's true limitation: a rear end that doesn't function at the heights necessary to extract floor downforce. The project was born badly, and this update didn't have the foundation to overturn the season. While McLaren and Red Bull consume the floor more in points where it's not controlled by the Federation, Ferrari, when lowering the car, consumes the plank heavily in front, and rear parts where Federation sensors measure excessive wear. And here we understand the China disqualification, when Ferrari had finally kept pace with other top teams. In that race, Ferrari wasn't legal according to the Federation. The hard point to accept is precisely this. Ferrari knew it and did it anyway. But let's hear the rumors circulating in England about Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari will separate in 2027, and according to multiple sources, the Scuderia has already chosen his heir, Oliver Bearman. At Maranello, they consider him the talent to lock down before another top team takes him away. Hamilton will remain at Ferrari in 2026 to drive the car in the new regulatory era. The contract expires in 2027 with various clauses allowing him to decide his future based on performance. Günther Steiner was asked if Bearman should replace Hamilton, and his response was sharp. If Hamilton isn't at the level, Bearman must take the seat. He's doing fantastic work. Behrman started the season with some errors, but now as clean as few are, beating Ocon, a more experienced and much more paid driver. If Ferrari doesn't promote him in 2027, he'll certainly end up at another top team. From England, they confirm Ferrari has chosen him. Ted Kravitz from Sky Sport Formula One doubles down. It's as certain as the sunrise. Behrman will replace Hamilton at Ferrari. But there's also another bomb. Ralf Schumacher sends a crystal clear message to Charles Leclerc. Don't trust Ferrari too much. Prepare a plan B. He's doing everything he can, but it's not enough. For Schumacher, the Monegasque season is solid. 7 podiums with a car that doesn't work. Speaking to Sky Sport Germany, the former driver was direct. If I were Leclerc, I'd ask myself, what's the sense of all this? Schumacher praises him, but then comes the jab. He can't trust only goodwill. Ferrari has disappointed everyone. Hamilton's arrival was supposed to be the spark for revival. Instead, reality was completely different. 2025 without victories, Scuderia dropped to 4th place in Constructors. The breaking point is John Elkann's words, extremely harsh toward drivers. Speak less and drive more, a phrase that exploded discontent among fans. I would have already sent my manager to ask for explanations, Schumacher said. I always had a plan B in such situations. Leclerc should do the same. The message is clear. Leclerc must stay lucid, not get dragged by promises, and above all, not tie his future only to a Ferrari that in recent years has disappointed more than delivered. Let's say it clearly, this year's Ferrari has been a failed project. However, there are many expectations for next year. The working group has changed. Various technicians have arrived at Ferrari. Others have left. The €2.5 million suspension scandal reveals something fundamental about Ferrari's current state. It's not just about one failed update, it's about organizational dysfunction, about decision-making processes that ignore clear warnings. When a simulator driver explicitly says, "Don't invest in this," you listen. When 7 post-rig results aren't convincing, you stop. But Ferrari didn't. They pushed ahead anyway, burning precious budget cap resources on an update they knew wouldn't deliver. The China disqualification makes perfect sense now. Ferrari finally had pace to match the leaders, but only by running the car illegally low, consuming plank in monitored areas. Meanwhile, McLaren and Red Bull figured out how to consume plank in unmonitored areas, staying legal while extracting maximum performance. The Behrman situation adds another layer. If Ferrari is already planning Hamilton's replacement for 2027, what does that say about their confidence in giving Hamilton a competitive car? Schumacher's advice to Leclerc is brutally honest and probably correct. After years of broken promises, Leclerc would be foolish not to have options ready. The tragedy is Ferrari has everything needed to succeed. Talented drivers, skilled engineers, unlimited resources, passionate fan base, legendary history. But they can't get out of their own way, can't make good decisions consistently. The €2.5 million suspension is just the latest example. Unless Ferrari fundamentally changes how it makes decisions, how it responds to warning signs, 2026 will likely bring more disappointment.